Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's side quest. I'm your host. No, I'm just kidding. So, I don't know who recalls from last week, but during the outro of the show last week on Sunday, we did say that we were rescheduling to this Monday for cocktail hour. And the reason being is because I was going to be out of town and not able to stream and probably very drunk. So we skipped last night's episode in favor of tonight. So that's why we're here to answer your question, Deco. How? Let me just finish eating my dinner first, okay? It was very good. And don't mind the little house gremlin.
She's cleaning her paws.
Who has decided to take this moment in time to make a ruckus.
She's cleaning her paws.
Yes, but she does it every single time at the most inopportune time. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it basically sounds like a small child clawing at the side of her litter box incessantly. It is what it is. We're going to go on for like the next 10 minutes. Also, Polly will be here shortly. I know he will because he told me he would. He's just got to, I don't know, conduct an exorcism beforehand. It happens. Are you good? Are you pristine now, child?
At least she cleans her paws.
Yeah. All right, almost done with dinner. Very good. We have pizza tonight because I didn't feel like cooking, and I know it's like the least healthiest thing ever, but it's also the most delicious thing ever, so it is what it is. And I wasn't super healthy this weekend anyway. What's one more day gonna do? So tonight, for drinking, we are indulging on a brand new bottle of wine called Pacific Standard Pinot Grigio from California, vintage 2019. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. We will see. And then I also have, so I had the sausage pizza, but I also have this here vegan cookie, which for whatever reason is so addictively delicious to me. Like, I can't get over how delectable this cookie is. It has no right to be, given the fact that it has absolutely none of the things that I like inside of it. So, forgive my audible moaning. That is really good. Right, babe?
What?
The cookies.
Yes, they're good.
Like, no joke, seriously. Anyway. So, you didn't just come here to see me eat. What am I, a Twitch thought? No. You came here to hear that. No, you came here to be entertained. And that's what we got planned for you tonight. And by planned, I mean Polly and myself, whenever he gets here. We're just going to have a gay old time talking about freedom shit and whatnot. You see, I stopped drinking at around 9 o'clock last night because it just didn't taste good after that point. So I started drinking water and eating grapes and being super, super duper healthy. But this is cocktail hour, and I owe it to you, my viewers. That's actually not bad. I like that. I mean, it's very subtle in its fruitiness, and it doesn't feel like it wants to kill me in the taste buds, which is good. So before we dive into anything too deeply, I would like to address the super chats, the Streamlabs that I got from the next 6 minutes while we were not live. He does that sometimes. So thank you the next 6 minutes for the donation. He says, Happy Independence Day to all of the Weebo fam. In case you're looking to try anime again, you may give Godzilla Singular Point a whirl. Anyhow, if you're not subbed to Weebo, you may have missed the Singular Point sub. Now, there you go. Yeah, you should totally sub to me. You know, since you're here, why not? You might as well. Now, I should probably address the elephant in the room, and that is the fact that I did not post the video that I promised everyone on Friday. And the reason why is because I lost time. Not lost time. That makes it sound like I blacked out and I woke up somewhere encumbered by a pair of fuzzy handcuffs, buck-ass naked from, like, the waist down, and barefooted in a ditch somewhere. No, that's not what happened. I did not lose time like that. I had several things come up that couldn't have been predicted during the week last week that took precedence over URL-related shenanigans. Now, that being said, that does not mean that there is no video that's coming. I did start working on it. I can show you the proof of that, and that the Premiere folder is still open. The problem is, you know, I had no time. Not in video file. I don't want to share my video file. Hi, Polly. Hang on. I got to prove to the viewers that I'm actually working on a video right now. See? See here? I have like 4 different sequences I'm working on. That one. That one. That one. So it's actually happening. There is footage of me as the World Cup. Oh, hello, small child. It's happening. It's taking a lot longer than I wanted it to. I meant to have this video out like a month ago from today. But wow, IRL is fucking me up. Part of that issue was that I ran into some file issues with my computer, so I had to quickly purchase can I help you? I had to quickly purchase 2 more terabytes of storage for my computer, and at some point this week I'm going to have to install it, but I have temporarily bandaged the issue by deleting a lot of shit that I don't need. But my computer is running a little bit slower than I want it to be, and that's because it's almost out of storage.
Oh, okay.
It is what it is. I was able to put it off for this long simply by, you know, pure luck, but now I need more disk space. You're also working on a video, I see.
This is a 9-second sound sequence, and it took me, I don't want to talk about how many hours that took me to put together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is recutting somebody else, like taking a track and then recutting it and resequencing it. So one, it's not copywritten, but more importantly, so it's in the order that I want. And a lot of it happened because the really sweet loop for this track, they talk over it at the beginning. And so it's like cut, and then another sequence comes in, and then it cuts back to that. And then the lyrics come in, and then it goes off to something else. And then, oh God, and it's all beat matched. Like it's the amount of work that was involved. I don't even want to talk about it anymore.
So what you're saying is 9 seconds of audio took you several hours of time.
Yes. And it only turns out to be 9 seconds worth of shit.
How does it make you feel, Polly?
Achieved.
Yeah?
No,
hello.
not at all.
Hello, Meowshwoods. Does it make you feel good? Or does that make you feel like, wow, I have issues?
You know what made me feel? No, it made me, I was fine with it because I wanted it to, I knew it was going to take a while to cut it together. And there's lots of stuff that you end up working on that doesn't end up going anywhere. So you just kind of like, oh, well, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've got lots of videos that just, you get experience in learning to do them. It's not like it's a job. I'm doing it for fun. So like, I do enjoy editing. As long as it's the fun kind of editing. There's certain things editing, you know, that just get on your nerves. Some stuff you like, some stuff you don't.
I think the worst thing about editing is audio correction.
There, amen, sister. I did that. That is exactly the number one thing I hate more than anything. Is editing myself. Like you've read whatever out, and then cutting out the breaths that you accidentally let into the mic, and the repeated lines, and then that.
I have to listen to this asshole again. Jeez, no, fuck that.
And when it's conversational, that's when, like, I mean, you edit together the MCU thing, like, especially when it's really long and you're trying to cut down an hour and a half to 20 minutes. Yeah, that's rough. That's my least favorite kind of editing. Creative editing, where you're putting something together, I don't feel it doesn't feel like it's taking a long time. Audio correcting, I can feel the seconds click off the clock
because it's a slog. You have to go back. Okay, so you have to listen for the section that you want to cut up or include or disclude, depending on what it is. And then you have to go back and re-listen to it and cut it and do the edits on the thing. And oftentimes you have to keep going back and redoing it because, well, once the audio has passed, you're like, oh, wait, no. I needed to fix this thing here or this thing there or whatever. Goes inside here.
Bless you.
Mm-hmm. It's tedious, I think is the best word for it.
And you can't listen to anything else while you're doing it. Mm-mm. Do you know what I mean? Like that's all you could do is listen to yourself and the other person, or likely just yourself talk. And it's just video editing. You can like watch streams. You can do be in VC and chat in Discord, whatever. But the weirdest editing is when like for example, editing me and you while I'm sitting in voice chat, listening, and you're in voice chat. That sucks. Because it's like,
well, I can't even
stop
sit
talking,
in a voice
Weebo.
chat.
I can't cut your
edit.
voice out when you're talking.
Yeah, I can't even do that and edit. All I can really do is listen to like film scores while I'm editing the video, but I have to listen to the film score at a lesser volume and still engage with the audio. And it's so annoying on top of that too. Because how many times have you heard this thing? Do you really want to hear this thing again and again and again? Luckily, I have a few like tips and tricks for speeding that process up. So the first one is obviously scripting shit, so that you're saying what you're saying when you want to say the thing, and you can just cut things in, paste things in where you want to. It's a little bit less tricky that way, I think. So automatically right off the bat, you get shit right. Then after that.
Yeah, people in chat. No, I'm still recovering. You're right. The Tylenol is finally starting to kick in. My head is. I was like half an hour late for AAA. I was just asleep. I'm not gonna lie. I was just plain old. I already got home at like 6 a.m.
Hey, it's understandable.
And then like slept like through the whole fucking like.
It's Freedom Day yesterday.
They fucking and I freed him the fuck out, man.
There you go. You see, Freedom Day. I partied hard this weekend too. Well, some might say, I would say partied hard by my standards, but other people's standards probably not as much. Because like I finished off the evening yesterday at 1:30 in the morning, having watched Father of the Bride, because we'd spent the entire day at the beach, rocking out to all manner of music, day drinking, like jumping off boats and socializing with other fellow American people and getting yelled at by the lady in the boat next door to us because our dogs weren't on their leashes and our music was too loud. Like, lady, please. Yeah, we got yelled at for having the dogs not on leashes. She's like, you can leash your dogs. No, they don't need to be right now. We had people watching them. Very diligent, drunk people watching them. And the dogs don't have like a history of behavioral issues. So a lawsuit is not a concern. But no, she's like, you should leash your dogs. Like all super nasty like too, I guess. because like my family is a big dog family. So we had Daphne and we had Ginger and we had Zeus all there at the same time. And so Ginger did have to get leashed because she does have a tendency to wander off. Like she doesn't do anything that would warrant concern from other people. But like as her owner, you want to keep her near you because, like I said, she has a tendency to wander off, and that can result in getting hit by a car or getting shot by a hunter if you're not diligent enough. So that's why Ginger gets leashed. Zeus only got leashed when my brother and his girlfriend had to go off to get drinks because that's his dog. That's their dog. And so he only listens to them. He's still kind of a puppy, but he only listens to really them. And so if they're not there, if they're not present to maintain their dog, then yes, of course, leash him. And then Daphne is an absolute sweetheart, and she doesn't do anything bad, and she's an angel. So, no, she doesn't need to be leashed. She was never leashed. The only thing of concern for her was that we were worried she was going to exhaust herself because they brought out the football, and she is a golden retriever. Her entire being, she fetches.
Uh-huh.
She fetches hard, nonstop. That is her thing. So if there is a ball present in her vicinity, she's going to go for it. If you throw it, she's going to run after it. And if you keep playing catch back and forth, she's going to go back and forth trying to catch the ball. And so she's in the water and she's trying to fetch the ball. And they're throwing it back and forth in the water and she's just going and zigzagging between the two people. I'm like, oh, you poor baby. You're going to be so tired. And she's just like, it was, yeah. I was worried for her for that regard alone. But regarding the dogs, none of them are behaviorally of concern to other people. So no one needs to be worried about them. Anyway, hi chat. How we doing? You okay, Polly?
Uh-huh.
You still recovering?
Yeah, I'm trying to put my SIG back together, and it's not going well.
What happened to it? Did you break it or what?
No, I just did a detail strip clean on it, and one of the most challenging things with any 200 series SIG is getting the fucking firing pin in the proper alignment. So you look, I don't know what was wrong with the fucking Swiss engineers who designed the 600 series or the 200 series, whether it be the 220, the 226, 229, they all have the same slide configuration. This one's a 227. That's same thing. Everyone else from the year 1911, hence the 1911 on, has used a firing pin bushing. This little thing that slides in, click, locks, holds the firing pin in. Glock ripped them off. Smith & Wesson for the M&P ripped them off. Everything. It's a bushing that goes in the fucking back, and that's what contains the firing pin. Okay? No. SIG, it's a crossways pin that goes across. There's a firing pin in a fucking SIG. And you have to have the fucking firing pin. It's got these cuts in it lined up just so you can get the spring-loaded firing pin safety block to slide along it. Like you don't have to take it apart very often because the firing pin channel just doesn't get that much schmutz in it. So only every 5 or 6 cleanings do you need to take the firing pin out. But when you do, it's a bear to get it back together. Mm-hmm. And I'm really hungover and I haven't eaten and
Well, whose fault is that?
America's.
Just because you overindulge does not mean Lady Freedom has anything to do with that. Well, okay, so like the first half of that declaration of firing pinness, I thought you were talking about an e-cigarette, and I'm like, hang on, this doesn't add up because you said SIG. I'm like,
oh god, what are you and Sinatra reading the same book? I was talking to him. Yeah, but he was being a smart ass. I was talking to him after the fucking stream, and I said, I got my SIG here. I'm thinking about trying to put it, get it back together. And he goes, really? I got a SIG right here. I said, really? What model? He goes, small, bro. You're a fucking prick.
No, I like genuinely thought that you were talking about an e-cigarette until you started talking about firing pins. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. He's talking about cigs, not cigs. Gotcha.
Wouldn't it be easier to buy a new gun? Fucking
At that
probably.
You know what? At this point, probably.
No, you pay a premium for cigs, unfortunately. So no, it wouldn't be. If it was like a High Point or something, perhaps.
I have a question, Polly.
Yeah.
So, registering guns,
In Illinois.
just in general, or actually, you know what? That might not be helpful, but in general,
Yeah.
can you register a gun on behalf of someone else if they're capable of owning a legal firearm?
Oh, that's a state by state thing.
State by state thing. Okay.
Definitely.
See, I wasn't sure.
Definitely.
And the thought didn't occur to me until today when I was writing up a list of things to do, and I'm like, I wonder if El Boyfriendo can register the 2 guns that we got, or do I have to register my Beretta? Interesting. So I'll have to look into that at some point. But yeah, that is my most pressing gun issue at the moment. That and finding some time to set aside to go to the range to shoot, to practice for concealed carry courses. And then, of course, scheduling a time to go to a concealed carry course. But the summer and weekends are just so booked.
You should maybe consider doing the dry fire regimen that Reaper and I are doing together. You should do it with us.
With the what? The stream about the guns? Or a stream about guns? Oh, wait, what did you say? I missed it. I got distracted by the alcohol.
Yeah, Pete Hunt says, weren't you getting Wendy's, Polly? I was going to go get Wendy's, it's true. But moments after the AAA stream ended and we were Drunkle and Sinatra and myself were sitting there talking, Weebo DM'd me and reminded me that no, the cocktail hour is not starting in 1 hour. It's starting in 9 minutes. And I was like, oh, fuck. I don't know. I sincerely thought that it was starting in an hour. I don't know where I got that from. But
well, because you're hungover, you're not thinking clearly about the fact that I'm in Central Standard Time and you are not.
Well, yeah, she's like DMing me. It's like, oh, no, we were 7 p.m., right? I'm like, that was an hour ago. I
always assume when I'm talking about time that I'm talking about my time. Who do you think you are?
It's why'd you take your pistol at far apart? Well, like I said, you definitely don't have to take the firing pin out every time you clean it. Definitely not. But every 5 or 6 times, yeah. And yeah, because you take the firing pin out and you run a Q-tip down the firing pin channel and it's full of schmutz.
Schmutz.
And the combination of oil and combustion byproducts and dust, and I call that collective black tarry mess schmutz.
Nice. Am I getting judged because I have a Beretta now?
You shouldn't. Beretta's a great gun.
Yeah. We got me a Beretta because El Boyfriendo has the exact same model and we wanted his and her guns. Because, we're that couple. Right, babe?
Yes.
So he's going to get his decorated in one color. I'm going to get mine decorated in one color. We haven't quite decided on it, right? Was it we were going to do black and white? Mm-hmm. Like a matte black and a matte white?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we're going to do that. But I want a fancy grip. I haven't decided what I want it to look like yet. But I want the fancy grip.
I bought the fancy grips from a 1911.
Yeah.
With rosewood. I don't know. I don't really think they're fancy. It's just it came with the hard black rubber, which admittedly is pretty good because it's grippy enough to be grippy, but not to the point of being sticky. But I was like, no, because it's like this brushed satin stainless steel look, and I'm like, no, man, I need the rosewood grips on that baby. So I bought them. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, what kind of grip would go well with matte white?
Matte white?
Well, do they even make matte white?
There's matte white guns? Well, I mean, there's everything, but there shouldn't be.
Like the color of matte white is just basically here.
See, that's what this is what I'm saying, Weebo. At least the first gun you bought was a Kimber made here in America, and of American design as well. You know, like if the first gun you bought was a Beretta, I'd be like, that's very unpatriotic of you. Sure, SIGs are Swiss design, German built, but not anymore. The one I bought was, Exeter, New Hampshire. Yeah, but no, I mean 1911. Where it's at. Oh,
Yeah,
are those the fingernails you want?
No, this is like what I'm thinking about to dip the gun into, color-wise.
Jesus Christ, really?
Yeah, and then I'm thinking about like a nice wooden grip or a wooden aesthetic grip.
I refuse to advise you on this in any way.
Because you disagree with my decision here?
Yes, strongly.
Well, what would you have me do instead?
I mean, that's worse than some of the Aego face guns I've seen. However the fuck you say that shit.
It could look cool.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking. I don't see any examples.
Of Aego face guns?
Just of a white dipped gun.
Well, yeah, there's a reason for that shit.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wait. Now I do. I had to take away the matte part. It could look interesting.
Uh-huh.
Maybe. I'll have to reconsider. Maybe. Just a little bit. Actually, no. Yes. No, yes. Maybe. I'm being asked about my hat. Is the Weebo version of the Sherlock Deerstalker hat? No.
Oh.
So, you see, Chad, the reason why I'm wearing two hats in this way is because I do not have any America wear for whatever reason. Whether it be because my boobs are too big and I outgrew all of my America wear, or other reasons. So I had to quickly complete an outfit akin to America. So I have this white shirt with holes in it, which actually, it's funny. This shirt costs more than a t-shirt without holes in it. So I literally paid for a shirt of holes. But it's cute. It's definitely super cute. And then I had to find a red and a blue hat to wear on my head. And yes, I could just wear the Cubs hat, but I don't feel like the red gets enough emphasis if I just wear the Cubs hat. And of course, the Make America Great Again hat does not have a whole bunch of blue on it. So we had to improvise this year, unfortunately. But I look cute.
And that's the goal.
That's the goal. Although the MAGA hat is cutting off circulation to my scalp, I will say. Or maybe it's just the combination of the two hats on top of each other. Sadistic Atheist says, the real reason? She couldn't be arsed washing her hair and combing out the dandruff. Lol. No, my hair looks fine. A little hat-heady, but I showered yesterday. So, I think it looks fine. Although I did sweat a ton today, packing up the car to go home. Can I help you? You okay? Did you figure it out?
Yeah, well, I figured out the problem. I haven't figured out how to do it. I'm doing it in the wrong order. You have to put the plunger in, then the firing pin. Not the firing pin, then the plunger. And I see why. I just had to goddamn Swiss.
Those bitches.
You don't have to fuck first the cuckoo clocks, then this.
What about cuckoo clocks? Explain, Polly. I'm curious. The world would like to know.
Cuckoo clocks are Swiss origin, aren't they?
Are they?
I don't know. I
They
thought
seem like
it's,
a German thing. Hang on, we'll find out.
yeah, it's certainly not a hill I want to
Where
die on. I don't care.
did cuckoo clocks come from? The cuckoo clock. It's actually pronounced cuckoo clock. I'll have you know.
All right.
It is unknown who invented the cuckoo clock and where the first one was made. It is thought that much of its development and evolution was made in the Black Forest area in southwestern Germany, in the modern state of Baden-Württemberg, the region where the cuckoo clock was popularized. These clocks were exported to the rest of the world from the mid-1850s on. You want to hear? Okay. Today, the cuckoo clock
Something
is
else.
one of the favorite souvenirs of travelers in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and northeastern France. It's a cultural icon of Germany. Okay, so I have a funny story about the cuckoo clock.
All right. Go ahead.
So, my dad has a cuckoo clock. It looks very much like the one here in this Wikipedia article. Right there. You see that?
Oh, okay.
Very much like that. The only thing that you can't see really are the weights at the bottom. So part of the reason the cuckoo clock,
the pine cone weights.
Yes, it has pine cone weights at the bottom that they're like really heavy weights too, by the way.
Sure.
But they act with gravity as essentially the motor for the clock. And every once in a while you have to like rewind it up.
Sure.
So that
my parents had one growing up, so it's like
I'm explaining also for the benefit of the chat.
No, I know. I also know the pain of that stupid bird coming out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my dad has a cuckoo clock that he brought back from his travels in Europe, and he's had it since before I was born, actually. And he hung it up in our kitchen, like dining section where we had the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
And the kitchen table that we had was this glass wire table. So it was a whole bunch of wires twisted to make a base for the table where there was a glass cover. And then the chairs were wire twisted chairs as well with like a wood seat.
Uh-huh.
And so they weren't like the sturdiest on the hardwood floor in the kitchen. My dad, when I was young, he used to like tilt back his chair on the back legs every once in a while. Not enough to like be precarious, but just enough that it was like, oh, cool. I want to be just like dad. So when this was before my parents divorced, so like age of 5, 4, whatever.
Uh-huh.
I had picked up that habit from my dad, and I leaned back in my chair one day and I was on the 2 legs and I pushed back a little too far. And the metal wire legs that were supporting me just slid out from under me. I crashed down onto the hardwood floor in my chair.
Oh.
And the cuckoo clock was right behind me. And both of the weights fell from where they were on either side of my head. So I almost died. It's one of many incidences in my youth where I could have certainly been killed by my own shenanigans. Yeah, it terrified me, freaked me the fuck out, because like, not only was it super loud in the sound, but my mom freaked out as a result because she's like, "Oh my baby, you almost killed her, Mr. Jones. What were you thinking?" And then my parents had like this huge blowout fight over my dad pushing his chair back and setting a bad example for me, and I'm like, but I'm okay. It did freak me out a little bit. But yeah, I almost got crushed as a child. Actually, several times. My mother stepped on me too when I was like a wee little infant, like right on the chest. My dad almost closed the garage door on me and almost cut me in half. So like,
whoa.
Yeah. You want to know why I'm short? That's why I'm short.
Is it?
Less surface area with which to suffer grievous bodily injury. So that is, in summation, my youth. hole we go, says Assassins of the Great. Yes, indeed. Does the cuckoo clock watch? Pear to Bear asks. Watch or work? It works. It doesn't watch. It doesn't have eyes.
Thank God.
I always liked the sound of the cuckoo clock.
I like the idea of it. Living with it, nah.
Cuckoo, 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 cuckoo.
It's like a woman. I like the idea of a woman, but living with them, it's a different thing, isn't it?
Excuse me, I'm right here.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes.
I know I might seem like one of the guys, but that's my gender you're talking about. We have some redeeming qualities. For instance,
Go on.
how would you know when all of your family members' birthdays were without a woman in your life?
Right?
Exactly.
Or your own birthday sometimes. Shit.
Yeah. Happy birthday, sweetie. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Also, for instance, how would you know that you're supposed to schedule yourself a dentist appointment?
Oh God. Yeah, no kidding.
Mm-hmm. Honey, it's been 6 months. Well, I mean, the dentist, at least my dentist, reminds me every 6 months, hey, by the way, time to come in. So that's really nice, but my dentist is a woman, so. I'm making my case again.
Uh-huh.
Garage doors only cut people in half in slasher movie, says Assassins of the Grey. Well, yes, but this was, I believe, okay, so I was really young, like 3. My dad, he was doing something outside with the garage door. I can't remember what it was, and I was outside playing in the yard with him, and me being an absolute daddy's girl, because of course I was. I'm like, I want to be with daddy all the time. So I'm following him around, and he doesn't quite realize that I am following him around at this point because he thought I was just playing. And he goes inside and closes the garage door behind him. And I'm following behind him. The garage is like almost halfway down. So I get underneath it and I start crawling. And it's around like my waist when I go, Daddy, no! He comes bolting out into the garage. And this was before we had the garage door detector that was like, oh, there's something there. So it senses that the light laser thing across the way that is interrupted. So it won't close all the way. So it doesn't cut anything in half or close on anything. Because it very well can. It's heavy enough that it can. So he comes back out and he, kicks the garage door up again with the button. And I'm so upset and crying because I got myself into this issue again. This not again, but into some shenanigans. It was my youth. Like I said, I did some serious shenanigans. And that's the story of the time I almost got cut in half by a garage door.
I mean, I'm listening. I'm just eating Cheetos, so I muted my mic.
Gotcha. I bet, I'm not the only person that has silly stories from their youth about them being a kid that their parents just told them incessantly. Like I have another story from my youth, but it's not about me. It's from my brother. I just happened to be there, and I told everyone in the family this story because it's tight. And it was the first time that we ever met my mother's birth mother, so my grandmother.
Okay.
And I was probably like 4. My brother was like 2, so we were super impressionable and not super smart. But my mom and my grandmother, they're talking, and my brother is bugging me. He goes, Weebo, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like, what do you want me to do, kid? Go. It's right there. And we were in the restaurant, sitting there. And I gestured towards the restroom because I'm like, what does this kid want me to do? Keep in mind, I'm 4. He's 2. So I don't understand that you're not supposed to send a 2-year-old off to the bathroom by themselves. So my brother, no, you're not. So my brother gets up off his ass and he goes to a tree in the restaurant, like one of those artificial or fake, I don't know, like indoor trees that some restaurants have for decorativeness rather than practicality or whatever. He goes up to the tree, drops his pants around his ankles and his underwear, and so he is mooning half the restaurant, and the other half is getting a full view of his frontal, and he's pissing into this pot of this tree.
That's kind of awesome.
And my mother was so pissed about this because this was when she and my dad were having issues. Well, that was their entire marriage, but they were having issues. She used this as an example of how crappy of a father he was because he had learned to pee outside from my dad, who taught him to pee like on a tree if he needed to, like dads do. Like that's not a big deal. It's a thing. I'm sure every little boy has done this or has learned how to do this from their dad at some point because it's super convenient. My mother.
Why are you being racist?
What? Excuse me?
Nothing. It's fine. Just moving on.
Yeah. But I bet like everyone has these little anecdotes from their youth about how much of a little shit or how much of a little irritating inconvenience they were to their parents. Like, Polly, you must have some stories your parents tell you.
I don't remember my childhood.
But
they're never stories.
Must.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's just. I don't know. You seem to have like stories that are fun in retrospect. Like Weebo being cut in half when she's 4 is not really funny at the time, but in retrospect is hilarious.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of a funny story that my mom repeatedly tells. Nothing's coming to mind.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just like clarifying.
I get to hear about my mom's 12-hour labor all the time.
Oh boy. Just to clarify, my mother's birth mother. There's a difference between my mother's mother and my mother's birth mother because my mom was adopted. Cystic atheist. So that's why I state that, because I never knew my mom's mom. I knew my mom's birth mother, though. Or I do know my mom's birth mother. So that's a very important distinction, because one's absolutely batshit insane and one's dead. Anyway, sorry. Polly, continue about your 12-hour-long labor. I bet.
Not 9 pounds, quarter ounce.
Mm-hmm. So even as an infant, you were long-winded. Is that what I'm hearing?
You shut up. You do most of the talking on a cocktail hour. And by the way, I probably missed it before I arrived, but why no glass? Why you drinking straight from the bottle?
Well, you see, when I decided that I was going to drink tonight, it was 3 minutes before the show, and I did not have time to grab a clean glass.
Ah.
In addition to everything else that I wanted to grab.
I take it that was a screw top?
No.
But you had time to get a corkscrew?
Yeah. It was just right there on the fridge as I was shutting it. I just grabbed it off the fridge and came over.
It's a magnetic one? That's clever.
Yeah. Of course. I don't keep my wine separate from my wine opener. That just seems ridiculous. All right, we keep everything in the same place, so then nothing is amiss.
Right beside all the red wine you keep in the fridge in the box.
Fridge in the box?
Yeah, you're training to be a wine mom drinking box wine, right?
No.
Let's talk about goon bags. I know. What the hell did you just say, right?
Yeah, what did you just say?
Goon bag.
Yeah, I don't.
Hold on, give me a second here.
Goon bag.
That is. Oh wait, shit. No, there we go. Share screen. Share. It's a 5-button operation. Okay. The silvery bags there that go inside of a box. Just plus. Why didn't it? Plus. There we go.
Thank you.
Those are the silvery bags that are on the inside of a box of box wine, and that's a little spelt thing. In Australia, they don't bother with the box. They just take the bag out and get drunk as fuck on cheap box wine and refer to it as a goon bag. You know, because they're Australian. It's like this guy. Like this is a story for next Wednesday's AAA that I pulled up. So, a man busted attempting to spirit dinghy filled with goon bags onto Palm Island, and I was like, "What? Why?" Because Palm Island apparently is a dry island.
Ew.
Yeah, I know.
It's like an adult Capri Sun, says Jim Colley. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So I get the tradition or the style is you put them up on a clothesline, like with clothespins, and you leave them hanging there. And then like when you're having a party, like in the backyard, people go up to the goon bag and goon off of it or get gooned.
That's so disgusting.
They're Australians. I don't know. They're weird people.
But
anyway,
it's not just an Australian tradition to drink out of the same bag.
I love that. Like, so he's going to Palm Island with like in a dinghy, right? Gets busted. But like, I mean, he's Australian, so look what he was bringing with like sneaking onto the island to sell alcohol, right? There's like 3 or 4 bottles of Smirnoff. There's some, I don't know, these are some kind of coolers. There's a case of beer, another case of beer. I think this is Bundaberg rum or whatever it's called. But look how many fucking goon bags he's bringing because he knows that's what everyone's gonna want. I love it. And then here's a sculpture that is
It dwarfs the sculpture by the sea.
It's
like, so it's not the actual sculpture. The goon
no,
bag?
no. Sculpture by the Sea is a sculpture contest in Perth, and it dwarfs every other zoo. With this group's submission for this year was a giant goon bag. Australians are crazy. They're fucking crazy. This 15-meter goon bag is the eye-catching entry as Perth Sculpture or Sculpture by the Sea exhibition launches in Perth for its 10th year. So they put like giant horses or whatever the fuck else you might want to sculpt or whatever down by the sea, and it's a big exhibition they do every year. And these crazy bastards did a giant goon bag.
Goon bag. Where did that even come from though? Like the name goon bag.
I don't know.
Like the bean, only better, says Daniel Fullman. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Because like, what's the purpose of the bean? Seriously.
The bean?
The Chicago bean?
Oh. I thought you meant like flicking the bean. I'm like, I thought you would know of all people. I thought it was only men who didn't know the purpose, and rare ones at that. Boyfriend doesn't know about the bean?
No, he...
Just checking.
That's not a problem, Polly. That's not a point of contention.
No, I just there's whenever I'm see, Johnny Blaze thought the same thing. See, this is not just me. I'm not weird. We're weird. It's fine.
You are weird.
Just an endless amount of stories for Noir Bar and AAA that I've been able to pull from Australia, or just asking Far about her daily life, because Australia is never boring, and so it's a never-endingly interesting continent and country.
Apparently not.
Yeah.
I wish America was slightly more interesting in that regard than it is in the regard that it is.
No, it is, because I did so far things that are like day-to-day stuff, and she's like, what? Like, and you kind of have to explain it, like, and you never know what it's gonna be that's weird until, like, Far just one day just said goon bag, and I said, a what? Like you just did, and that's how I found out what they were. And she's like, oh, you guys don't have those? I'm like, have what? What is it? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, that's the bag from inside. What'd you do with the box? She goes, well, you don't need the box for anything.
Box, what's that? Well, I understand just having the bag because it's a little bit more flexible. As someone who has their own fridge, it's probably good for the flexibility of the storage, and it's not super bulky, and you can kind of maneuver it how you would, like a water balloon.
In doing a little reading, like pulling up some like pictures and stuff, it's like
Mhm.
a backpacker's tradition. And I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense because there's a lot of backpacking that goes on in Australia, a lot of hiking and shit like that.
Yeah.
And it's, and going out to bush parties and shit like that. And yeah, of course, because now your goon bag will fit in whatever space is left in your backpack, or whatever. It'll conform itself to any shape, because it's a fucking bag.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah, that's actually good. That makes sense. And it's 15% or whatever the fuck your cheap wine is. So,
Mhm.
you're not going out there with a bag of beer.
Yeah. I don't even think a bag of beer would work.
No, it probably wouldn't. It'd be
Just
a big
flat.
ball because it would, pressurize to fill the space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like a goon pillow.
Not even. It would. Okay, so it would be like a volley or like a beach ball.
Yeah.
Because it'd be so pressurized.
The goon ball.
Yeah. And then finally, when you open it up, all of the beer goes everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Because all you've succeeded in doing is shaking it the fuck up. It's like the slice of beet on a burger. Yeah, right. See, I just Far mentions it offhandedly, and I'm like, what?
What?
She goes, you don't do that? That's an Aussie thing, is to have like beets, like red beets,
Like a root vegetable?
Yeah, like a slice of beet, so it's like a disc, right, on top of a cheeseburger. That's a very common thing.
Like raw?
No, cooked.
That's too much work. Fuck that. Because it's a root vegetable, so it'll take a bit to get, fully cooked.
Yeah. But then again, I remember when I was like flipping through different burger pictures, the giant onion ring on a burger.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was Far's like, what is that? I'm like, it's a big onion
Delicious.
ring. Yeah, it's
that's what that is.
You don't know what's odd if it's normal to you. You see what I'm saying? So it's only through the course of conversation that I end up finding out these, like, you do what in Australia? Like, it's.
But don't Australians also put like chopped onions in their burgers sometimes?
I would imagine.
Because it's like it's pivotal. It's one of like the main ingredients in most decent burger recipes is to put some onion in there.
Pickled beet, apparently. Pickled beet, not just cooked beet.
It's still weird.
Yeah, I mean, Far doesn't like it. She says it's gross, but it's common. And I'm like, oh.
I guess I'll have to try it once to see what it's all about, but.
Well, like, I mean, it's like the chip buddy. I don't get that at all. The British thing, the chip buddy? It's French fries inside of it's like a cheeseburger or a hamburger, but instead of a patty in there, there's French fries. And I know if there's like any Brits like listening, they're not fucking French fries. I know, it's like you just look up like BUTTY buddy, like a buddy burger, and you'll see them. It's like, oh man, Brits are protective and defensive and love their buddy burgers, man.
This isn't a thing.
Hell yeah.
You're messing with me. This is actually a 4chan op.
No.
This isn't real.
Is it totally a thing?
No, it's not.
So it's just a French fry burger.
No.
A chip buddy.
It is
not. I take it back. A chip buddy, not a buddy burger. A chip buddy. That's right. Yeah.
This isn't a thing.
Now I think it's odd, but when I've talked to Brits online, they're like, "No, what are you talking about? They're heavenly." Like, it's.
This is some culinary bullshit. I don't like this. I don't like the fact that this is a thing. I don't like the fact that people like this as a thing.
Someone's playing Lincoln Logs with French fries there,
This is just something that people get sold. Like, you're getting ripped off, buddy.
Buddy! I see what you did there.
This is unacceptable. How dare they? This is, like, it's not gross, so that's not why I have a problem with it. It's just obnoxious is the phrase I would use.
Credible Threat says something. It was one day, Polly, I have to introduce you to the Welsh invention of half and half, which is chips, curry sauce, and rice, or cheesy chips and gravy. I could be tempted to try that. That does not sound bad.
Oh,
A fish
You
finger
invent-
sandwich, like a fish burger.
No.
That
Okay.
which you
Give
don't.
me one second.
All right. So Inquisitor, the Comic Book Curation co-host quiz, whenever I say fish burger, he freaks out. He's like, you mean a fish sandwich? Like he's really insistent that it be called a fish sandwich, because if it were, it's a burger because it's got beef in it. And I'm like, nah, man, calling it a fish burger is fine. And he's like, no, it's not. It's a thing. I mean, it's basically a handful of starch, the Chip Buddy. That's why I find it so odd, I think.
I'm back.
Hello.
A slaw burger. Coleslaw on a bun.
No, I don't like coleslaw enough for that to even, no. That sounds like something not vegetarians, vegans would come up with and claim was good, but wasn't,
Well, coleslaw is made with mayonnaise, which has egg in it.
Oh, yeah. Good call. Well, as if there isn't vegan mayonnaise.
Actually, I think there is, but it's not like traditional mayonnaise. It's like avocado mayo. Just mayo made with avocados. Because the avocado acts as like the binding agent in that.
Right.
Cute, dear. Okay.
Pudding.
Oh my god. Love of my life, ladies and gentlemen. He walks out with his Charmander slippers. And then just presents to me. Anyway, continuing on.
Yeah.
The Assassins of the Grey asks, so is this Beretta a range toy or something serious? What? Why are you laughing at me?
Wait.
Oh my god, she's afraid of the slippers?
She's afraid of the slippers.
Okay, so Meowschwitz is afraid of the slippers. Because they're like Charmander slippers with a
Charizard, get it right.
Charizard. Sorry, can I see the slipper so I can show the people what it is that Meowschwitz is terrified of? And so he's walking around wearing these on his feet. She's just
Is that
freaking out.
evolved Charmander, thus Charizard?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. So is it a range gun or something serious? I guess my question is, what do you mean by something serious? What do
Like
you think?
for home defense, what have you?
Like
I'm
for home
imagining.
defense?
I'm imagining. Yeah.
I mean, El Boyfriendo's Beretta is his home defense gun for his nightstand table.
My PX40, not my 92FS.
Not your 92 FS?
It's a PX40.
Oh, okay. So then, what's the Beretta for? Just to have?
It's my target gun.
What's your okay, so it is a range gun. So I guess, yeah, it is a range gun. Because
That gun makes me look good when I shoot it.
okay. I haven't actually shot the Beretta yet, so well, I've shot his Beretta, but not my Beretta. His Beretta is a little bit heavier than mine because it's
Mil spec versus civilian model.
and so I haven't gotten it. The handling of either gun is going to be a little bit different, I'm assuming. So I don't know if it would be something serious or just a range toy. I'm thinking it's probably going to be more of a range toy because whenever I try to handle his Beretta, the mil-spec one, it's a bit big for my hands. I got tiny little Weebo hands.
Yeah, the one I use for home defense is a 45 caliber.
Ah, that's right. Or stopping pepper. Serious means daily carry. Well, eventually, I was going to get to the point where my Kimber was going to be my daily carry. Because it's small and compact and I can hide it more easily on my petite womanly body. The Beretta would look obnoxious on me if I tried to conceal it. But that's just me. Polly.
No, I'm listening.
You listening? Are you contributing? You're just as bad
I'm
as my
hungover.
cousin. You're just as bad as my cousin who gets easily distracted by her cell phone, and then she's like kind of in the conversation, but not really at the point.
No, I haven't even looked at my phone since I woke up. There's probably like
Yeah.
a bunch of emails and text messages and shit on it.
Happy American Day, Polly! Fuck yeah!
Well, that was yesterday. Today I'll be like, so how bad off are you? From a few people that were at the fucking function I was at.
Your function. Were there fireworks at your function or nah?
Yeah.
That's good.
There didn't even need to be, though. All the fucking neighbors. It was like a fucking war zone last night. It was crazy.
I bet.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, I have a question for you. So I was seeing a whole bunch of like traffic regarding fireworks, and every year around this time, you get those assholes. You got two kind of people. The assholes who yell at everyone for blowing off fireworks, whether it be for like the day of 4th of July or for the days surrounding the 4th of July included with that. And the other type of people being those people that piss off the other people. And the vitriol with which they have this reaction to anyone lighting off fireworks is so extreme. And it's because they're like, oh, we need to think about the veterans with PTSD, the other kind of people with PTSD, the people who have dogs that can't handle fireworks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, I get it. I get your concern.
But
we live in a world.
We live in a society.
We live in a society that won't always 100% of the time be comfortable to everyone at the same time. That's just a fact.
I've heard that. Dogs,
cats, humans that are veterans, humans that have PTSD,
etc.
etc., etc. You cannot expect the world and everyone in it to cater to your individual needs. Like, for instance, my cousins, they have a dog, Ginger. We've all seen Ginger because we babysat Ginger. She does have trauma surrounding loud noises. She's scared of the vacuum cleaner, so she goes to hide. And she's scared of the popping noises with the fireworks. But that doesn't stop my family from celebrating the 4th of July, obviously. So what they do is, at night, surrounding this time of year, they will keep Ginger in the house and blast the TV for her, like, on just a 3-hour-long movie for hours and hours and hours, so that she doesn't have to hear the gunshot sound noises, I guess, because she's only really afraid of the pop, 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 boom, boom, booms.
Sure.
Or the vacuum cleaner. But not like, say, for instance, Dances with Wolves, which was one of the movies they played this weekend to kind of distract Ginger. Yeah. So, I guess find what works for you. Or, I don't know. What's your opinion on this?
One of my friends who has 2 dogs, she ended up drugging them. She wasn't happy with it. She said it with like frowny face, like, I had to drug my dogs, like, that sort of thing. But like, isn't that adapt and overcome perspective? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if your dogs are
improvise, adapt, overcome,
like, and if you're a veteran who has PTSD, like actually, I take that claim pretty seriously, because I could imagine somebody not wanting to hear loud kabooms and like, because when I say it sounds like a war zone, when people are going nuts with fireworks, it legitimately does,
it does
sound what I would have to imagine a war zone sounds like. That being the case, yeah, I can imagine some people really not wanting to be around it. Just get the fuck out of town. If you know what I mean, it would be like you've got really bad asthma, and there's a forest fire nearby, so the air quality is going to like drop badly. You need to get out of town, man. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, as opposed to like the world should somehow conform itself around me, and everyone should pitch in for like a home hermetic air sealed filter or something for me. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you're placing demands upon a great load of people for your own personal requirements when a little bit of forethought would be like, depending on to what extent you're going, like, yeah, take care of it. You know what I mean? No one should put off
Invest in some
fireworks
noise canceling headphones, right?
Yeah. You know, put your dogs in the basement. They might not. I understand a lot of dogs don't like going in the basement, but like, I don't know, find somewhere where it's quiet. Drop your dogs off at your family's out of town for the weekend. Do what you got to do. Is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's my perspective on it. I can understand. Like, why is your care for your dogs manifesting in the form of totalitarianism? You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to getting the fuck out of townism.
Yeah. It just. The level of butthurt is so great compared to the actual issue and how much it affects people, in my opinion. Because it's not the people themselves that have the PTSD. It's not the dogs that are protesting this firework shenanigans. It is virtue signaling types that get irate over the prospect of someone letting off fireworks a day outside of the 4th of July. Like, fireworks aren't singularly a 4th of July tradition. If you ask me, you can light off fireworks whenever you want to. They are more frequently associated with the 4th of July because, you know, rockets, red glare, the bombs bursting in air, yada, 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 all that jazz. That's what they become synonymous with. Like, you know, pine trees are a Christmas tradition. But across the world, people light off fireworks just for any odd reason if they want to. They can. People in America could do the same thing just because. But the level of butthurt is so extra. It's beyond anything that I could think of reasonable. I don't know. I bring it up because I was seeing a whole bunch of butthurt about it over the last couple of days. And I don't think it's really tapered down because I don't think everywhere has tapered down their firework explodiness. And it just boggles the mind. Butt-turt, yes, that's going to be a new thing. Apparently, Assassins of the Grey says fireworks do not sound like a war zone. I mean, maybe not a war zone, but they definitely give off the impression of like, ooh, booms in the distance. Whatever could those be? Like, not maybe exactly like a war zone, but those are sounds similar enough to a war zone that they give very sensitive people that impression. They can be loud, yes, definitely. But then so can police sirens. And those give people PTSD sometimes. And I've yet to hear anyone say, "Oh, we should turn down police sirens." Or police lights. That flashing, that can send someone into an epileptic seizure if I'm not mistaken. But I don't see a whole bunch of people going, "We need to think about the epileptics." So why is this instance singularly unique in the amount of reaction that it gets is my question. And I think part of it's probably also because it's to celebrate America, and there is this very anti-American sentiment with people in the current year, which is just unfortunate. Because America, fuck yeah.
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 It's one thing that just came to mind. Boom, boom. I'm gonna have to look it up. Should be able to find it fairly quickly, I think.
Visit your local battlefield. You know, I'd like to do that. Take little trips and excursions around the country to see battlefields from years and years ago.
Have you never been to a battlefield of any kind for anything?
No.
No?
Unfortunately. That is something that I'd like to do, is take those vacation-y excursions to historically significant sites, because that's like my favorite way to vacation. Is not just to, have fun and relax. It's also to kind of learn something new about the location that I'm going to. Like the last 2 times that I went on big old excursions to Greece and to Paris, they were with the intention about learning about a very specific thing about that country. So Greece, it was ancient Greece, obviously. Greece, ancient Greek architecture and the history behind those different sites. And then for Paris, it was the French Revolution. So I don't know. That's just how I like to ingest cultures through their history. What's significant?
Oh, okay. Actually, I have some thoughts on that real quick, but I love this. So John Adams, first vice president, second president of the United States, member of the Second and First Continental Congress, representative from the then colony, then state of Massachusetts, famous man, wonderful man, pugnacious man, wrote a letter to his beloved wife, Abigail, on July 3rd, 1776, because the 4th of July is celebrated as the date of Independence Day, but the motion was actually passed on the 2nd of July. Richard Henry Lee's motion of be it resolved that these states are of right and that these colonies are of right and ought to be free and independent states. And it of the 13 colonies, 12 of them voted yay in the affirmative and 1 abstained. New York.
Those fucking New Yorkers.
New York passed the resolution on the 4th. Hence, it passed. Yeah, so it was unanimous, which is why the Declaration of Independence reads in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous Declaration of the United States of America, because best that it be not 12 approving, 1 abstaining. They're abstaining because they didn't have their delegation didn't have the consent to approve or deny an independency vote. And it's kind of understandable considering that New York was occupied by the British at the time. So, yeah,
so you're declaring 2 days later.
Yeah, you're declaring independence as a colony that's where New York City is, like the harbor is full of British ships. The streets and every rentable bed in town has been turned into a fucking barracks full of British soldiers and officers, and you're going to declare independence from this nation that's occupying you. Like that's why they were one of the reasons why they're awaiting an abstention. But anyway, it technically it passed on the 2nd because 12 is they don't even need to pass by majority, right? And it most certainly did with 12 of 13. No one voted against it after all. One just abstained. Anyway, that's just some historical trivia. Yeah, that's just
Polydub.
Yeah. John Adams writes to his wife, Abigail, the greatest first lady in American history, in my opinion.
I do agree, because I've seen part of that documentary series.
Yeah, and Laura Linney, she's a great actress and did a great job portraying her. And she really was. I mean, it was the Adamses. They were a political team. She was a brilliant woman. Anyway. He's writing to her, and their letters are fantastic to read. But the day is past. The 2nd day of July, 1776, will be the most memorable epoch in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations by the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to Almighty God. It ought to be solemnized. Not sodomized. Weebo. Get your mind out of the gutter. It ought to be made solemn with pomp and parade, with shrews and games and sports and guns and bells and bonfires and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward forevermore. Well,
So he got what he wanted.
yeah, mission accomplished, Mr. Adams. We have done so.
Over the last 200 plus years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I don't know. The 4th of July has always been one of my top favorite holidays. Not just because it is the party holiday, but because of the patriotism, of what it stands for, the let freedom ring-ness of the holiday itself.
Right.
It's important. It's an annual reminder of the sacrifices and how we got to where we are.
Yeah.
And, that liberty is something worth fighting for. Not to get super gay about my liberty, but come on. How do you not feel a little bit moved by the 4th of July as a concept?
Well,
it's got a lot of weight behind it.
It does. And the paragraph that immediately follows it is interesting considering he's writing July 3rd, 1776, aware of all of the things that were going on at the time in a way that a law professor from an Ivy League university explaining to you how the origin of the American Revolution is purely in its need to maintain the slave trade, which is of course a lie, or any other Marxist contemporary made up bullshit retconning of history.
The 1911 Project.
Well, the 1911 Project?
Or no, not 1911. What is it?
1619.
1619. Why did I think 1911?
Because of the gun.
You're right. We were talking about guns. Sorry, I'm primed.
That's
Continue.
all right. Yeah, I psychologically primed you to say it. Yeah.
You did. It's
No, but
your fault.
he kind of speaks almost morosely, because it's like, I mean, they're taking a leap in the dark and a leap of faith by doing this. You are going up, after all, against the world's greatest superpower at the time, when you're just a bunch of colonists and you could barely get everyone to agree, of the delegates to agree.
Yeah.
That you ought to be independent. Now you're I mean, it was a shooting war already. There already was something that was called a Continental Army that was only able to be kept together because of the governance and leadership of George Washington. Most of his time was spent with admin, just getting all of his private soldiers to get along, because they viewed themselves as coming from different countries, coming from different colonies. I mean, all the way up to Robert E. Lee's time. Robert E. Lee what was his sole final, I should say, reason for not taking up President Lincoln's offer to lead the Army of the Union against the Southern
because he didn't
Confederacy.
Want to lead troops against his home.
Yeah, he said, I cannot wage war against my own country. And he was referencing Virginia.
Yeah.
And all the way up to that time, there was still that view of separation of the states. Like the
Union was not yet.
Yeah, the Civil War made America the United States of America, not the States United, if you know what I mean. And you hear that in Adams' words here, and like I said, in the paragraph that follows that very, from this time forward forevermore. And he says, you will think me transported with enthusiasm, but I am not. I am well aware of the toil and blood and treasure that it will cost us to maintain this declaration and support and defend these states. Yet through all the gloom, I can see the days of rays ravishing, light and glory. I can see that the end is more than worth all the means, and that posterity will triumph in the days that transaction, even although we should rue it, which I trust in God we shall not. And it's like, well, no, the majority of us do not rue the day, Mr. Adams. But very unfortunately, we have a bunch of, I don't know, people, individuals amongst us who have come to view it as fashionable, trendy, to see everything wrong in America. And I view it as that, a trend. I don't really believe that you're committed to it. I don't really believe that any of the Antifa people are committed to what they're doing. They're LARPing. You put on a costume for a short amount of time, fully expecting that if you are to, at some point, unexpectedly be thrown to the ground, have your black t-shirt pulled off of your fucking head, arrested for committing the crime that you are in fact committing, you'll be very shortly bailed out if you're charged at all. Does that sound like an actual authentic revolutionary to you?
No.
Do you think that any of the men captured during the Revolutionary War fully expected to receive that kind of treatment from the British, or to be thrown on a prison barge and possibly left there to starve, like happened to a great number of them? Well, I mean, actual revolutionaries have actual fear. Like they're full-time 24/7 revolutionaries. Like the revolution against Batista in Cuba. They were full-time revolutionaries that knew they were fighting a revolution. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a bunch of fucking commies. But I mean, you guys want to be communist revolutionaries? Okay, look to the Cuban Revolution, because that's what it's going to take. Are you ready for that? No, they're not. They're a bunch of college kids pumped up with fashionable ideas of fuck you wearing Che Guevara shirts. A bigoted racist, I might add. A man who hated and fucking imprisoned gay men for being gay. And that's the guy that you lionize as your fucking commie hero? As an aside.
Yes, they do. Marson Johnson asks a question that I actually don't know the answer to, and that is, may a state exit the union, legally speaking? Like, is there a legal method for the state to just sever ties with the union?
Ask a Texan that.
They'll say yes.
Because the Texans will absolutely say, yes, we are an independent republic. That is that is a commonly oft-cited position from Texans.
No.
Is that actually the case?
No.
Hey, you know what? Everything's legal until it's not. And I say that what I mean by that is I've said that a bunch of times lately, is like, is this presidential executive order legal? It's legal until it's not. Meaning what? Until the judge. Yeah, until a judge says no. This
is not constitutional.
Yeah, until you get arrested for something, everything's legal.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it legal to drink if you're under 21 years of age? Depends. Where are you? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, until there is writing specifically stipulating that this behavior is in fact not sanctioned by the governing body that you're part of.
That is also enforceable.
That is also enforceable, reliably enforceable.
Right. Then everything is legal. Yeah. Or nothing is illegal, I guess I should. It's illegal in concept only. I guess that would be the best way to say it. Like, is it legal in concept for a state to leave the union? Texans would tell you absolutely yes. Following the Civil War, the answer was decidedly no. From the federal government, that no state may leave. It's the historians.
We have an entire Civil War that tells us that no, you can't. Bye. Or hello.
Right. Yeah. It's like, we're leaving. No.
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 That's a no. That's going to be a no for me.
Yeah. The historian's view of the perspective of the delegates who signed into the Constitution, who signed on board with the United States of America, they never would have done so if they didn't think that they had the freedom to leave. And it's
like, if there's a back door.
Yeah, it's like we can leave this congregation if we so choose. No, like, that was the natural assumption, is the general historical perspective. I don't know. It's not like people talked a lot about it, if you know what I mean. It's not like people thought about it. Like the process of the development of the Constitution is not very well understood because it was done in seclusion. Would
it be fair to assume that anything not within the the Constitution, anything not explicitly stated as being a natural right or a right or procedure for the Union, is for the state to decide?
That's the 10th Amendment.
Yeah.
I mean, states what you just said. Yeah. It's natural rights are not only those enumerated here, and anything not so enumerated here falls to either the state or the people.
Yeah.
So it's like if we haven't enumerated a particular privilege of exercise of power to the federal government within this
Assume your
constitution,
Gucci gang.
yeah, assume it falls to the state or the people as a right of, or as a freedom, meaning
then
an
by that
essential
logic,
natural right.
Wouldn't the states have the ability to decide whether they wanted to be a part of the union or not?
Well, that's probably how. What was the first state to secede? North Carolina, I think.
Mhm. That's probably how they argued that.
That is probably how they saw it.
So then, would you be able to make the argument? And I'm not saying that I want to make this argument, but wouldn't you be able to make the argument that the Civil War was not constitutional?
I heard a historian utter a phrase that made me think about that one time. The idea is like, was it legal for them to do what they did? She was talking about Lincoln, and she said, I understand why Lincoln had to do what he did. He could not espouse, her words, he could not espouse principles that he was not willing to justify on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a very excellent way that she summed that up. And that was in criticism of Lincoln, because she went on to say, it took him far too long to elevate the war to be about something more than union, to make it a war about emancipation. She thought he was far too late in his adding of emancipation to the, as she called it, to the elevation of a war to a more noble purpose. And she began that statement by saying the phrase that I just said. I understand that Mr. Lincoln could not espouse principles that he was not willing to justify on the battlefield. And it's a very interesting way of putting it. It's like, is it justifiable to leave? Are you willing to pick up, are your people willing to pick up guns over it? That's what makes it legal. Because at a certain point, that's what decides things. It's fine for America to declare, we declare ourselves independent, keeping in mind that it had been a shooting war for a year at that point. It's like it was a war to reestablish our rights as freeborn Englishmen. That was the cause. They didn't call it the American Revolution. They called it the cause. Our cause. To reestablish our rights that have been taken from us. And our rights are to, as British citizens, as British subjects of the crown have, just to appoint their own governors, to bring people to trial among their peers, to not be under military jurisdiction because of kingly tyranny, because the British people were not subject to that. Yet we are British subjects and we are subject to that.
And they didn't think it was fair.
So, yeah.
Up until the 4th of July,
war.
1776, the impression was we are British subjects not getting treated like British subjects. And then it was we are no longer British subjects, but we deserve to be treated with these human rights.
With natural pre-existing rights is the way they would have saw it.
Okay,
like
yeah.
Very Lockean idea. As in a state of nature, you have
your
natural rights that are given to you by nature and nature's God, to use his language and the language Jefferson used. And so therefore it pre-exists the Constitution, and the point of the government is notice all of the rights. The American Constitution is very interesting in that regard. It does not bestow rights. It names rights that are not to be interfered with. And Ham and Beans in chat made an interesting point. He said we did not have a civil war. Fair enough. That language of a civil war is Northern language. I mean, the Southerners certainly didn't think of that way. You've got a point. They call it the War of Northern Aggression. I mean, after all, Lincoln was the one who called up 120,000 troops and invaded the South. The South did not invade the North. They simply said, we are not under your authority anymore. So, yeah, it wasn't two parties vying for power militarily. So technically it wasn't a civil war, but it's very northernly language to consider it such, because it's like, yes, it is. By attempting to leave, you are questioning federal authority, ergo a civil war, So it's a good point, though. I remember when a student asked me one time, what legal authority did the second second Congress have, the second
Continental Congress.
the Second Continental Congress have, in getting together with the various delegations that they had, and calling up a continental army, and eventually declaring independency. What legal authority did they have? And I was like, it was interesting. It was a very interesting question, because I was like, none? Don't you see that? And it's like, no, you don't. You're not thinking of it that way. No, it was high treason. It was high treason. I mean, I love Ben Franklin's famous saying afterwards, after they had voted for independency on the 2nd. He said, "Well, gentlemen, we shall hang together, or we shall most certainly hang separately."
I like talking about this with you, because you have like interesting insights, and you can pull up quotes from founding fathers that are pertinent to the discussion that we're having on like a whim. Like, just, you don't have to go searching for them. You already know that they exist, which is impressive in itself. It tells me that you know what you're talking about, obviously. Whereas myself, I only have a passing knowledge of American history, like more so than the average American. I would hope, but less so than someone who has adamantly studied American history.
You know what? I wouldn't put the weight upon anybody, like the weight of expectation to know history. Civics is the weight that I put upon people in terms of expectation. It's like, how do you not know what the purpose of individual statehood is? How do you not understand why we have an electoral college? How do you not understand why we have a bicameral legislature? There's a very simple one. When people argue for we need to get rid of the electoral college because it gives certain states more voting power and blah, 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 and all of that. And then you say, so you want to get rid of the Senate too? And they're like, what? It's like, you realize there's only 2 senators from every state, right? Don't you understand that gives certain states that have a smaller population more power? Oh yeah, we should get rid of them too. Oh, so we should completely redesign the federal government. Do you not understand the point in a republic?
Yeah.
We're a democracy. No, we're not. We're a republic. And you hear that line thrown around online a lot. And that's what I find sad. I don't expect people to be able to, I don't want people to know detail of history if they're not interested in it. But if you're a citizen of the United States or want to be one or whatever the fuck, they want to be involved in the conversation in general. And you don't understand the point in a republic, like the nature of the separation of powers, why there's checks and balances, why states are recognized as a legal authority. Thus, tiny little Rhode Island has 2 senators. Yes, and they should, because tiny little Rhode Island shouldn't be dominated by the populations of New York and California.
Duh.
But it is a democratic principle. So how do you balance them? By having a House of Representatives that represent the people and a Senate that represents the states as a legal authority. It's almost like they offset each other. A check and balance.
Oh my God.
And to people who already know this, it's like, shut up, quit being so condescending, Polly. But my God, people that get fucking salty because they lost in a fucking election and they hear too much about the electoral college, and all of a sudden they want to toss out a system that's worked effectively for the past 200 fucking years.
Fuck the rules. They didn't work in my favor, so therefore they are illegitimate.
Man, and notice the complaints that come up where it's like, oh, weren't you the ones complaining in like the 2020 election comes along, right? And it's like, there are voting irregularities, and it's like, oh, the Republicans, the GOP, they're the true snowflakes because, like, look, they turn around and complain about the results of election when they don't like it. Just accept it and shut up. And it's like, the left never accepted it. News agencies never accepted it. Before Trump was inaugurated on the 20th of July, there was talk of his impeachment. They attempted to impeach him twice. They attempted to impeach him once after he had already left office. Don't tell me about refusal to accept the results of a fucking election you didn't like. And it's like, I remember some of my friends like at campus saying, well, you can understand that feeling because this is twice that the popular vote has gone one way and the electoral college vote has gone another way in recent history. So you can understand people that, both from, and both of those times going against the Democratic candidate, of people who voted for Democrats feeling that way. And it's like, feeling what way? Feeling pissed off that they lost an election? Yeah, I can understand that. Feeling that justifies their ignorance of a fucking system that they don't understand? No. No, it's a throwback to a previous era that doesn't count anymore. Oh, like your right to free speech. No, not that. Oh, like your right from illegal search and seizure.
No, not that.
Yeah.
Like your right to not quarter soldiers. It's quartering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the Third Amendment. The one I consider the most American one of all, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's the only one that people forget what it is, and when named, laugh. And rightly so. The very idea of your home being used as a barracks by the government to quarter soldiers to overlook you and police you. It's such a laughable, far gone, almost fictional idea that it produces laughter in people. Can you imagine the government quartering, like get out of your house because we need to set up cots for soldiers? It's like, you mean the soldiers that are lining the streets that are making sure that we all stay in line? Like, it's a ridiculous notion. Yeah, because it's so American to assume that you have the freedom. Do you have any idea how many places in the world that it's perfectly legal and legitimate to do that?
Mm-hmm. Okay, see, now when you put it like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. It's American to assume that
my property is my property.
So ridiculous.
Yeah, and we have civilian police. We don't have soldiers that police us. This is insane.
Mm-hmm.
The whole idea of not using soldiers against civilians, the very fact that we've gone so far in the bias of our news entertainment industry that they will not flip the fuck out when Swalwell talks about using atomic weaponry against the population, even in a joking fashion, and that when Joe Biden does it twice, when both of them talking about the Second Amendment, oh, well, you're going to need nukes. We're the ones who have the nukes. Like, even if you're kidding, what the fuck is wrong with you? And they won't talk about that. They won't, meaning like everybody but Breitbart and Fox is silent on it. They don't have a problem with it. I mean, that's how far and biased journalists have become.
That is kind of scary, though, to have actual representatives joke about using nukes on the civilian population. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Excusez-moi?
And it, I mean, here's the thing. What I said that it's the formation of the Constitution isn't very well understood. Like, I meant it as a comparison, like the very fine details of it then are kind of unknown. The general details are known. It was done in seclusion, so it could be done quickly. It was ratified and written up in a remarkably short amount of time, considering all of the varied interests that were involved. But one thing that is known historically and very, very clear is that individual states had their own state constitutions. They all had individual rights to keep and bear arms, protections, or statements. Virginia certainly had one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let the states handle it was the perspective until the right of the federal government to call up a standing army was given. Now it must be an enumerated right of the people to keep and bear arms. Why? Why in response to the federal government's ability to call up a standing army? Well, think what we were just talking about. That sounds like tyranny. You can call up a federal army. We just fought a war against a bunch of soldiers in our fucking streets to oversee us. And now we're going to put together a new federal government that will be able to do a similar thing. We're going to guarantee the right of the people to keep and bear arms. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state. Why? Because how could the people possibly be secure under a tyranny? And we need to be armed to be secure. Make sure that nothing can tyrannize us. And I mean, that's the whole point in the people being armed. And it continually from the fucking Democrats talking about you don't need an assault weapon to hunt. Where the fuck do you see the word hunt there? And what history class came up where they were talking about hunting fucking deer with muskets that this made sense to you?
The people that argue that, well, we have, We have the military and the police to keep us safe, etc., etc. It does boggle the mind that they forget the origins of the nation that would breed that kind of a constitutional right addressed to the people, that they have the right to keep and bear arms in the case that the government enters into a tyrannical state. I mean, did we not just get done with 4 years of Trump is a fascist, coming for your freedoms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and simultaneous to this constant state of we are in a fascist state, we are in a fascist state, we are in a fascist state, there were cries to get more stringent with gun laws, disarm the people in some form or fashion. Mind-boggling. The duality of men.
Well, one thing that's interesting is to read political science treaties about America that are not written by Americans, like the Oxford History series on American history. It is fascinating reads because it's a lot of Brits writing about American history, and they end up pointing out certain things that, like, it's like the old joke, right? One fish swims up to another fish and says, "Isn't it weird that we breathe water?" And the other fish says, "What's water?" It's, you're constantly surrounded by the thing. You don't know that it's there.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes an outsider to point something out to you. One of the things that continually comes up that is endemic to the American polity, like the political body of voters, is a short political memory. And that is continually pointed out. And it's very true. I just don't think that it's seen when you're too close to it. Because again and again, it's like, weren't we just in a place where, Brits have a much longer political memory than we do as a polity?
What do you think that is?
That's a great fucking question. I have, why? It's like Americans have part of our political DNA, of our mindset, to have what we think of as a healthy distrust of government. Where Brits are not like that. It's a healthy distrust of the people to control. We distrust the people. We need a government to control them. Where it's like, in America, it's the other way around. It's like government's going to run amok if we don't control it. We trust the people, not government. It's giving people power that's the problem. Where does that come from? Some people say national origins. Other people say 1,000 cultural locations, literature,
the fact that there is so much enmeshed together, like a whole bunch of mashed potatoes coming from different aspects of the world. Sometimes it's hard to retain that plus longevity in your political memory.
I don't know. And I don't really know what the cause is, but I can tell you Americans do have a very short political memory that's not inaccurate, because news entertainers and the people that enjoy listening to, let's say, a Don Lemon or a Joy Reid or whoever the fuck it is that they're listening to, will hear the person talk about, we are under an unbearable tyranny because of the style of governance that's going on. And then a new leader will come in and continue with identical policies, and they will call it just leadership. It was an unbearable tyranny what was going on under George W. Bush with the Patriot Act. Oh my God, you're spying on all of America. The NSA has untoward authority to look into our private matters. This is unbearable. Barack Obama comes into power. He gets voted in. That story dropped away very fast. He not only didn't undercut it like he said he would, he expanded that authority. Guantanamo Bay was an intolerable violation of human rights. These are non-combatants or non-state actors that are being held without trial indefinitely off of American shores. Black sites is all anybody could talk about. Extraordinary rendition is all anybody could talk about. Okay, the black sites continued on under Barack Obama's presidency as they did under George W. Bush's, as they stopped talking about them. Barack Obama partly got elected on a promise to close down Guantanamo, which was still running 8 years later when he left office.
Is part of the reason why there is such a short-term tendency in the American people, politics-wise, because of the press and their ability to just kind of finesse a narrative out of thin air.
The short political memory, is that a function of it? No. Of the press? No. I would say it's what the press is taking advantage of. It's it's not a product of them. It's a tool they use, in my opinion.
Then the behavior existed, or the tendency. It exists. It pre-existed the media.
Yes, most certainly. Pre-existed television media and radio media before that, and was going on in the days of print media all the way back to pamphleteers during the Revolution.
Okay, then we're just dum-dums, I guess.
Yeah, well...
we're just... there's something in the water. Must be. It's all that fucking tea we dump. Damn it.
Johnny Blaze brings up a good point. I mean, and you could go on and on with them, too. Who built the cages at the border that are still in use, right? And how many new cage houses at the border that were... Remember... intolerable concentration camps until July 20th of this year, or excuse me, January 20th of this year. And then suddenly,
who cares?
Separating families at the border, no, let's just expand them. It's fine.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
And white nationalism. Thank God January 6th happened for them. I don't know what the fuck they'd be talking about if it wasn't for the national insurrection.
The national.
Yeah, but I don't want to get into that subject. That's just
I'll piss you off.
Well, it's not that it piss me off. It's just like it's still ongoing, and it's so dumb too. Like, I mean, it's comparing like a riot in the Capitol, while pretending that billions of dollars and I don't know how many lives worth of I don't know how many cities, a summer long's worth of nationwide riots that were largely not only allowed to happen, not only made permissive of by Democrats, but actually encouraged in the sense of our current vice president tweeting out, yeah, here's a link in case you want to donate to bail them out. But yet getting so incredibly worked up about a riot in the Capitol. I mean, do we want to talk about attacks on the Capitol building, the people in office, elected officials, as insurrections? Like, are they always such? Because if that's the standard, there's a very ugly fucking history you don't want to bring up. So I wouldn't go there if I were you. That's a bad strategic move. But fortunately, we have a very one-sided press. So, there's no one there to talk about, the majority of, this was a really shitty insurrection if it was one. Oh, well, some of them brought guns. Okay, let's talk about the times that the Capitol and the Pentagon have been bombed. And it's like, wait, when were they ever bombed? Right, I forgot. Our short political memory. By communist revolutionaries in the 70s and early 80s. And then, in the 1920s, a series of bombings throughout Washington, D.C. by commie-leaning anarchists. Like, the list goes on, and it's always people from the far left that did it. 500 people get into the fucking Capitol building and do what? Really? Who'd they kill?
You know what I just thought? Something just occurred to me while you were talking about the bombings of the Pentagon and such, from various periods of time in the past. I didn't know that was a thing. And it was because it was never taught to me in school. And so that leads me to believe that perhaps the reason why it is that we have such short political memories is because, one, students are really taught this on an academic level. And part of the reason is probably because teachers are discouraged from, at least at a public school level, teachers are discouraged from giving lectures with any one political leaning side. And that gets a little bit more blurry, the line of how to keep from appearing to be on one side or the other gets a little blurry the more current the history you're teaching is. But additionally, the lack of tutelage in more contemporary history in terms of politics also leads students to have a disinterest in pursuing and learning about current day civic action or political interests. So as a result, they don't know what they don't know. And they're speaking more from ignorance than they are from having forgotten. At least that's what I would imagine is a root cause of the problem.
Yeah. One of the causes, I wouldn't call it the root cause, one of the causes, because there's multiple variables that are at play. I mean, teachers, generally speaking, tend to be a liberal bunch. And like, if you're a liberal bunch as opposed to a conservative bunch, you're more likely to sympathize with far left people than far right people. I mean, even people that are conservative are opposed to the far right, but you're more likely to sympathize with them. Mm-hmm. And thus, the sympathies that end up happening in education, especially higher education, that come along. Where I'm driving at with all of this is like, why were you never taught about them? I got a better question. As mentioned in chat, the Weather Underground. I mean, two of them, we're talking about people that bombed the Capitol building. They're responsible for over 15 bombings of federal buildings and defense contractors, including the Capitol building and the Pentagon and a police station where they almost fucking murdered, if the bombs weren't accidentally discovered the day before they were supposed to go off, and blew up a fucking brownstone fucking building in New York City when they were trying to set a bomb off. That's how their plot was discovered, to bomb Fort Knox for a non-commissioned officer's dance, to murder as many people as possible. Can you imagine the death toll at a non-commissioned officer's dance? That's what they were going to bomb, Fort Dix. This was all to oppose the federal government's Vietnam War policy. Mm-hmm. A bunch of, by their own description, dedicated communist cadre who wanted to overthrow the American government and replace it with a more humane socialist system. Their words. This was the Weather Underground. Two of them are now employed at Chicago University, one in Chicago University Law School and the other one in their sociology department. Heroes of the left. They absolutely are. They're authentic 60s revolutionaries, even though they started the revolution in the fucking 70s. But nonetheless, Angela Davis is still going around on fucking speaking tours at lefty universities as an authentic black revolutionary, black power superhero. It's like, what are you talking about? She was a failed revolutionary that snuck guns into fucking into Folsom Soledad prison, that then George Jackson, a fucking hero of the left, then used to attempt escape. And when he was shot dead, she was arrested for it. And everybody tells a story that she was set up by the feds.
Yeah, none of this rings any bells for me.
Well, I'm not surprised. Like, I mean, I have a particular interest in it. So it's like, that's why, far lefty movements in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, because people talk about like, the Summer of Love and et cetera, like, the 60s are always referenced. It's interesting to me that the more you look into it, actually, most of that actually happened in the early 70s. It was, and okay, whatever. The 60s were the 70s. I have a particular interest in it. That's why I know about it. But like, if you go to lefty circles, they will talk about the heroism of the Black Panthers. Black Panthers are a fantastically interesting case study. I mean, it from all sorts of angles, definitely worth looking into. And now are looked back upon as neighborhood superheroes who defended themselves against oppressive police, which has elements of truth and a whole lot of romantic bullshit in it. I stole that line from a documentary I saw one time about
a whole lot of romantic bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
verbatim.
I did. It was a news reporter who was talking about the Symbionese Liberation Army and the Patty Hearst thing where the SLA had kidnapped her and then she joined up with them. It's a really odd tale. He was the journalist who ended up kind of finding himself at the center of it, because it was to him that their execution order of a local California school official was sent. They decided to execute the Symbionese Liberation Army, decided to murder, I forget the gentleman's name, a school official, a black school official at that, because of the setting up of school IDs for students as a security measure and stuff. They saw it as the beginning of a totalitarian system of, categorizing and indexing everybody. So they ended up murdering the guy, and they sent the execution order that they themselves had assigned themselves, and ended up dropping it off to this journalist. So anyway, in a documentary made years and years later, that particular journalist was a part of it, and he was describing the notion that the SLA and a number of other people, including the Weather Underground, had of every black prisoner in America as a prisoner of war. And the idea behind that was, since they had been denied their fair share of freedom, of their fair share of the pie, they had gone outside the legal system to get their fair share of the pie and had thus been arrested. Hence, are political prisoners. And his line, that reporter's line, has an element of truth to it, but also a whole lot of romantic bullshit as well. And I was like, damn, well said.
Mm-hmm. Polly, as much as I would love to continue this conversation, it's late.
It is late.
Go bed, bye.
Pouty pout.
I have work in the morning.
Yeah.
And I don't get to work remotely anymore, so big sad. Big sad.
Yeah, is that are you sure that's definitely done? Because as bad as it is a bad thing. It also means, this COVID thing, the end is in sight, unless they declare the Delta variant to be a new national emergency.
We'll find out. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, I'm part of the first wave that is donezo with the remote stuff. So it seems like for the time being, I don't get to work remotely anymore, which is both a blessing and a curse, because it means that I don't get to as easily flex my hours, because me and my boyfriend do carpool to and from the plant.
Sure.
But it also means that, I don't have to log my hours and what I do per, minute anymore, which is really nice. Because that was a whole bunch of BS.
Per minute?
Well, not per minute, but, in 15-minute intervals, I had to be pretty specific about what I was doing, when I was doing it, for how long I was doing it.
I was about to say, I figured quarter hour would be, I could see that. I could see it, Yeah.
It was so annoying.
Yeah.
Thank you for
posting all of our links in chat, by the way, Assassin of the Gray.
Yes, thank you very much, Assassins of the Gray. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be here next week, same time, same place, same otter, same Weebo face. I don't think I have any things that will interject with next week. Yeah, no, I'm all good. Cocktail hour will be at the usually scheduled time next week, so we will be a Gucci gang. Polly, do you have anything you want to show before we dip potato chip?
I could go for some onion dip and chips.
You go do that.
Do I have anything to pitch? AAA stream on my channel on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 a.m. on Christmas Island. I should really get my ass act together and put up some of the chapter readings. You know why I'm putting it off, Weebo?
Why?
Because it's nothing but audio editing of myself.
Yeah.
Like we talked about at the beginning of the stream.
You know what you could do?
Hire an editor?
No, I was just gonna say.
No, I don't have the money for that.
You could do the Twilight readings. You could edit those instead.
Or the
watches.
No, you're not wrong. You know what I should do is I should put them up on my stream channel raw.
Yeah. Good. You have a stream channel?
I do.
Why?
I had an idea of doing having like what we did for Twilight, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what was going to go up there.
Just that stuff.
Well, that was the main idea. I'm sure other things would have ended up going up there. Like if you go over to my channel now, it's like a fucking confusing.
I think I prefer that.
With the cornucopia of difference.
I don't like just subbing to one channel for one thing, because then my sub box is just
Zed asked, did I see Sin's stream last night? Only about the first 15 minutes of it, and then I had to head out for some patriotic drinking. But I did hear all about it today, though. Yeah. I definitely heard all about it today. That was one hell of a stream for him. Jesus. Yeah, so there we are. Any Weebo, when did you mention when your videos to be expected to be finished, the one you're currently editing?
It's supposed to be last Friday, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm shooting for this week. I'm smack dead in the middle of editing it right now. And there's going to be 2 videos that come of it, one for just strictly members and then one for everyone else. So if you are a part of the patronage or if you are a YouTube member, you'll get basically what is a house tour video, which is a little bit more of what it is that people get to see from the Thought Patrol, which also features bits and portions of the house tour, but there's like a twist to it.
Ooh.
And you'll see what I mean by that when I actually post both of those videos. Like I said, there's a twist to the house tour in that I'm not just giving a house tour. It is a house tour in comparison to another YouTuber's house tour. And the YouTuber in question is the one that we're doing the Thought Patrol on. So we will be posting that this week. I'm editing it as fast as I can. It's just things have been coming up that have been taking precedence over URL stuff, unfortunately. And, you gotta prioritize certain things. But I will have it out, and I have other videos that I have planned and I'm working on. And I know I keep making these promises, and I know I keep saying I'm going to get better at it, but that is truly the goal here. I just need to figure out how to balance everything adequately. And it's taking a little bit more time because I've never had a 9-to-5 full-time job perpetually before. And so that is eating away at my day significantly. And so I need to figure out a way to balance everything. I haven't done that yet.
You'll figure it out.
It's going to take some finessing and different strategies, but
some spreadsheeting.
Yeah, some spreadsheeting. Correct. So yeah, that's what I'm working on. And then no side quests this week because we're still on break. We do have a meeting for it though at some point this week, so we're going to discuss show-related shenanigans. So that's that. Other than that, if I can get a second video, if I can swing a second video, I'd love to, but this is a very busy July for me. I don't just have the family races and the 4th of July to celebrate. I also have a whole weekend of bacheloretting to look forward to this July. So that's going to cut into my ability to produce content as well.
Sure.
Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here with us this fine evening. Hit that like button, comment, subscribbles, share to your heart's content. Thank you for doing so if you have already. Thank you to those who donated. We deeply appreciate all of your contributions. We do. Without the audience, just mind you, this would just be a discussion between an otter and a weird girl wearing 2 hats at the same time in Discord.
And I dig Cocktail Hour. I love to see the same people showing up week to week because apparently they like listening to me prattle on and you say interesting things. So
I thought you say interesting things too.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that story.
I'm not. You're not just here for poly fodder.
I like poly fodder. Oh, I'm stealing that. I'm so stealing that. hey, Weebo.
Hey. What?
Weebo. What did the drummer name his 2 daughters?
What?
Anna 1 and Anna 2.
And that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, good night.
Have a good night.